It is great to be here. I'm actually having a really good week. I don't want to brag, but I was actually just named one of LA's top 10 comedians to watch. According to an article I wrote for my blog. And I was number 7, which is pretty good. When I woke up this morning, both of my cats were asleep right on top of me, which is when I realized I still have room for like 8 or 9 more cats. Wouldn't even be here right now. I'd still be at home sweltering under a cat blanket, which is my dream. It's my dream now. I live in LA, America's most popular city. Please hold your applause. A lot of people move to LA because they want to make it in like movies or television or their band. All of that's fine. That's not my goal though. My dream is to do well enough in any field that I could own 12 cats and have it not be sad. You're like, have you seen Jason lately? He's living in the hills in a cat mansion. Every cat has its own bedroom. Things are going great for him. That's the dream. I don't know if you guys have read The Game. I don't know if you're big book readers like I am. But if you haven't read The Game, the thesis of the book, The Game, is that if you're mean to women, it will trick them into liking you. And I have no idea if the game works on women, but it sure as hell works on cats. 100% effective. If you're being nice to a cat, you are doing it wrong. Cats hate that. You want to be friends with a cat, you have to be like, listen, cat, I already have a lot of other cats in my life right now. I don't know if I have time to be petting a cat, especially a cat like you and your weird face. And then, bam, you will be petting that weird face cat all day. I like animals in general, but I like cats more, and I think it's because I have a lot in common with cats. Like a dog, you have to take on a walk. But if you wake up at noon, and at 2, you want to go back to sleep, a cat will join you. Now, that's a capital idea. I'll get right on top. Let's do this. Cats have contempt for people. I find that relatable. When someone comes over, they want to hide. Smart animals. They don't want to talk to people. Teach you a different lesson too, I think, like owning them. Like if you get a dog for your child, you're teaching your child like responsibility. But if you get your child a cat, you're teaching them an even more important life lesson, which is that no matter how much you love something, it won't necessarily love you in return. That's a big one. I was leaving my apartment a couple weeks ago, and I got to the bottom of my stairs, and I saw my cat Harris outside, where he's not supposed to be, because I live in Hollywood, and we have coyotes. No one knows why. A lot of missing purse dogs in my neighborhood, so my cat's not allowed outside. And I hadn't seen him all day, which is not unusual. I just assumed he was hiding under my couch, which is one of his favorite hobbies. And honestly, I would be under there too, if I fit. He wasn't under there, he was out gallivanting around apparently. But he didn't try and run away, he just flopped over. So I picked him up, took him back upstairs, and then before leaving for the evening, just to be sure, I did go into my bedroom and look under my couch, where I did see my cat. I had just stolen an unrelated cat. So now I'm coming to terms with the fact that I am a cat lady, trapped in the body of a cat man. Please respect my journey. Took an online autism test. Passed it. Passed the test. That's the first question, is whether you have the self-awareness to be like, am I autistic? That's one of 50 questions. I got a pretty high score, though. I got a 31 out of 50. It's like high. It's like right on the cusp. Right in that sweet spot. Where I am messing up most of my social interactions, but everyone's still mad at me about it. Not a great place to be on the spectrum. Oh, so many game nights ruined by my rule literalism. Game night still happens, I'm just not invited. The number of categories games I've gone off rails with. Oh, it's okay. I find parties very stressful because there's like too many people. It just makes me like uncomfortable. I came with a life hack, though, that I call the Irish hello. That's where I just leave the party without saying hello to anyone. Saves a ton of time. Can't recommend it highly enough. Before I moved to Los Angeles, I wasn't sure I'd like it, because I was moving from the Bay Area, and San Francisco has a rivalry with Los Angeles that Los Angeles does not know about. But up here, yeah, we're pretty sure it's real, reciprocated battle. We think everyone down there drives everywhere, nobody reads. People are just shallow, superficial husks, grasping at stardom. And while all of that is true, I gotta say it feels good to be where I belong. Fish to water for me down there, things are going pretty well. It's okay, you don't have to move there. I like living in California, but I saw a study a libertarian think tank put out. They ranked each state on a freedom index from most free to least free, and California was bottom 5 for freedom. Bottom 5. Apparently, we just don't have the kind of freedom you're going to find in a state like Mississippi. We can't compete with that. Studies in. New York was also bottom 5 for freedom, because they tried to ban big gulps in New York. So freedom is dead there. It's a real part of the study, the availability of big gulps. Which is a crazy metric for freedom. I just think if I wanted that much soda, probably buy 2 sodas. Personally, way more concerned with, not getting murdered for being a dandy fop. That is towards the top of my freedom list. If you're a man with pink hair in Mississippi and somebody shoots you, it is technically self-defense. Just different strokes. Craziest part of that study, though, Hawaii, also bottom 5 for freedom. Absolutely insane. California and New York, we have laws. I get what they're saying. But my parents live in Hawaii. And if you haven't been there, you might not realize Hawaii is an anarchist society. This is not under the control of any stable government. My father called me recently to tell me that people keep escaping from jail on the Big Island by climbing out a window and walking away. So they're thinking of building a fence. That's just where things are at right now. City council debating it. They don't have the money for a fence-based jail. That's what's stopping them. My parents have this native Hawaiian friend. He's like a really crazy life. He's telling me about the summer in the 80s when he was growing 2 acres of marijuana in his backyard. Not 2 plants, 2 acres. Also, Reagan is president in this story. This guy is going for it. Unfortunately, his cousin is a police officer, finds out about it, confronts him, says, "You can't be doing this." So my parents' friend's like, all right. That's when he harvested it all and sold it all. And then there's no third part to this story. It was just like a really great summer for him. Didn't even go to the jail you walk away from. At large. Can you be at large if you were never wanted to begin with? Freeman. That same guy, he had a barbecue one year, family reunion at the beach. Got pretty drunk and stole a boat, as I think we've all done after an afternoon of heavy drinking. He was out in the ocean in someone else's boat when he saw an endangered Hawaiian green sea turtle. Majestic animal swimming through the crystal clear waters. And he decided to wrestle it. Jumped right in. Now these weigh 400 pounds, federally endangered species. He almost drowns on account of everything I've just told you. But he doesn't drown. He actually gets the turtle back onto the boat, takes it to shore, and barbecues it. They are barbecuing federally endangered species in Hawaii. It is a libertarian paradise. And what I like about that story, and as a vegan, not much, but what I like about that story is that's the most Hawaiian way of killing that turtle. There's no reason to get drunk and wrestle it in the ocean. The turtles actually sleep on the beach all day. Super easy to kill. You just walk up to them and hit them with a stick. That's like why they're endangered. Because it turns out they are delicious. And they love taking naps. Terrible combination. My parents are retired now. My mother spends most of her time doing donkey advocacy, which is a thing there. I don't know if that's what you picture when you picture the island paradise of Hawaii. But the problem with my parents' village is that there are feral donkeys on the freeway. This is a terrible place for a feral donkey. Because if you hit a feral donkey on the freeway, you die, for sure. I know that for a fact, because in the last 5 years, 12 people have died in donkey accidents. There are only 3,000 people in my parents' village. You live on the west side of the Big Island. Just a matter of time before you find yourself in a fatal encounter with a donkey. So my mother advocates humane solutions to the donkey epidemic, like fixing the fences or fixing the donkeys. Both excellent ideas, in contrast to other villages' solution to their donkey problem, which was to round up the donkeys and dump them in my parents' village. 5 years ago, there were no donkeys in Waikolo Village, and then suddenly, hundreds of donkeys, and also 12 people have died, tragic/hysterical deaths. I don't do a lot of drugs, but I have been to Burning Man, so I have done almost every drug once. Did them all one time. Did cocaine once. Just made me want to read a book. Snorted ketamine off a knife once because everyone was doing it. That also just made me want to read a book. Turns out I have attention deficit disorder. Weird way to find out. Did ecstasy, which, when you do ecstasy, it makes you feel really good, like really in touch with the earth and connected to the people around you. And then you sober up and you don't feel that way anymore. That's not a good drug trip. Ecstasy doesn't even get you high. It just lets you experience life as a happy person for 6 hours. And then you're back. You're like, oh, everyone probably feels pretty good all the time. Noted. Noted forever. Earlier this year, my friends, well, they wouldn't stop talking about this new drug Molly, how great and new this new drug Molly was. Because my friends are just comedians and people I met at Burning Man. So just going on and on about how great this new drug was. Finally, I just Googled it, and it turns out Molly is ecstasy. It's literally the same thing. It's just an ecstasy tablet that's been ground into a powder. That is not a new drug. That's not how that works at all. You can be like, what, this? No, this isn't heroin. This is heroin I put into a gel cap. It's called Samantha. You've probably never heard of it. Thanks for the hot tip. I've dated women. I've done things, guys, dated some women. Dated a woman I met on OkCupid, who was my 98% match. If you've been on OkCupid, that's high. That's 92 is good. 98 is like we have to meet. And we did meet, and it turned out we were like the same age, grown up right in the same part of the country. We both had pink hair. Between us, we already own 9 cats. I don't know how OkCupid comes up with that number, 98% match. But on our second date, I found out that her father was a stand-up comedian in the 80s, and she had all these unresolved issues with him. So system works, like whatever they're doing. They found it. This is like 5 years ago. I wasn't even doing stand-up at that time. OkCupid was like, you should be. You should start. We've looked at your survey. I'm huge on Vine. Huge on it. Been waiting over a year for somebody to bring Vine up in conversation so that I can mention how popular I am on the unpopular social network Vine. Unfortunately, no one has ever brought Vine up in conversation. So now I am just interrupting conversations already in progress. Be like, hey, you guys talking about Vine? No? You know, I'm huge on Vine. Just trying to get the word out there about my 9,000 Vine followers. Which is like a pretty healthy number, but it's not a great social network to be popular on. It really just means 9,000 people downloaded Vine, followed me, and then never used Vine again. Meanwhile, Twitter, which I actually care about, I'm not popular at all on Twitter. Last week I tweeted, all caps, retweet this or I will kill myself. And it got 0 retweets and 1 fave. You guys have been spectacular. I've been Jason Van Glass.